Hi, it's Wednesday. That means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and today we're going to discuss how to get the widower to make new memories with the woman he's dating. This is a concern that comes up often with women who are new to dating a widower, and the concern goes something like this: basically when they're going out, they're going to the same restaurants that the widower and the late wife frequented. Or if they're going on trips, to places that he and the late wife enjoyed. And so, obviously, while the person the widower is dating is happy that they're out and doing things, not so happy that they're visiting the same places that he and the late wife visited and frequented, and they want to make new memories that maybe aren't tainted, so to speak, of he and the late wife. So good concern. So we're going to talk about what you can do, some easy things that you can do to talk to the widower and get him to maybe try some new things, and maybe get you to try some new things as well. So here's the widower psychology tip of the day. Widowers and people in general, let's be honest, are creatures of habit. They're going to do what's comfortable and routine. So especially if they've been married for a long time, it's easy to fall into these traps of, hey, this is how I've always kind of done it, right? When I go out to eat, here's whatever the 5 or 6 restaurants I like to go to, or that I like to go to with the late wife. When when we've taken trips, these are places that I know are cool and good and things that I've wanted to do. So the fact that a widower is doing this, that he's taking you to the same spots that he and the late wife frequented, or he's wants to go on a trip where he and the late wife does that, off the top of my head, that's not a red flag. I don't view that as, oh my gosh, he's not ready to move on. I would try to give him the benefit of the doubt and understand that he's creatures of habit, and this is probably the way he's been doing things. So let me give you an example from my own dating life. When Julie and I were dating, guess what? I took her to places, some of the same spots that me and the late wife went to, and it wasn't because I was thinking, going in there thinking, this is where me and the late wife ate, or this is where me and Krista enjoyed eating. It was more of I was trying to give her an experience where I knew the food would be good, where I knew that the experience would be good, especially when we were first dating. We were kind of walking on the razor's edge, so to speak. She was kind of looking for an excuse to end things, and the last thing I wanted was like a reason to give her one. So we didn't go to every place the late wife and I frequented, but if we went out, these are places that I knew were good, and I went there. Now, to be totally fair, yeah, there was a little bit of memory in there of, hey, Krista and I sat over at this table, or Krista and I don't know, ordered this. I didn't bring them up as part of the dates, but to be fair and honest, that was kind of there in the background, but we managed to have a good time without that. And there's actually some stories about this in Room for Two, so if you go to my website, abelkeogh.com, you can actually read a little bit about some of these dates in a little more detail and kind of what was going through my mind. So there's kind of an example. And then another example would be on Julie and mine's honeymoon. We actually went down to southern Utah and Las Vegas for our honeymoon. And again, it wasn't the exact same trip that a late wife and I had taken, but we had gone down to southern Utah. We had gone down to Vegas at one point. And so again, wasn't trying to relive the trip, but we were looking for a place that we didn't have a lot of money when we were first married, looking for a place where we could spend a few days, not spend a lot of money, and have a good time. And that was really the only place I could think of. So that being said, if I could do it again, if I could go back and do it again, I think I might have done things a little bit differently, maybe picked a bigger spot, maybe a different spot or something like that. But the whole point of it is that I was doing these things. I was kind of suggesting these places because, again, due to whatever financial circumstances, or just trying to hope she had a good time. I was going with things that I knew and places that I was familiar with. There really wasn't an intent there to relive the past, so to speak. And for the most part, we didn't relive the past. It was different experiences. We did a lot of different things on our honeymoon, things like that. So anyway, the point is just because he's doing that isn't a red flag, and don't worry that he's not ready to move on. So there are some things though you can do to help him move on. So if you find that he's taking you to the same restaurants, this is a great opportunity just to talk to him and just say, hey, we've been going to these places that you and the late wife frequented. maybe we can go out and try something else. Let's try some different restaurants that neither of us have been to. And so, like, if there's a certain kind of food that he likes, do some homework. Maybe come up with suggestions. I'm not saying you tell him, hey, let's go here, but you say, hey, whatever, you like Italian food, or you like Mexican food, or you like this Chinese food. Well, whatever. Here on the other side of town, there's this great restaurant. Maybe we should go try it, and kind of be adventurous together. And I think most widowers, if they're ready to really move on, won't have a problem with that. Maybe they'll want to pick a different spot or do something else. But I think if you bring up the concern that, hey, we're kind of reliving your first marriage here or your previous marriage, can we make our own memories and maybe kind of do new things. I think most widowers would be up for it, especially if it's presented in the right way. If it's presented in such a way that they don't feel like you're jealous about or that you're, angry or upset that you're going to these restaurants. And in fact, a good way to go about it might just be to say, hey, look, I've had a good time with these places. Let's just try something new. I want to do something that maybe just, where we can just enjoy things that we've done. So I think if it's handled right, most widowers wouldn't have a problem with it. In fact, I can't think of a widower that would have a problem with it if they want to try something new. And then for the widowers that are watching this, be open to try new things, and understand that when they're making these suggestions, they're not trying to to obliterate your past marriage or your relationship, but they're just trying to do something that's new and unique to you and your relationship. So one of the things that I gave you some bad examples of things that I did when Julie and I were first married and dating, but here are some good examples. So after we were married, within the first couple of years, we actually took a lot of trips to places that the two of us had never been to before. She took me up to Seattle. That's where she was from. Julie's from the Seattle area. I had never been there, so we took a trip up to Seattle, spent a week up there, and had a good time. It was actually it was on that trip she found out she was pregnant with our first kid, so kind of like a little bonus thing, you know what I mean? We took a trip to Denver. That was kind of, she had never been to Denver before. I had grandparents that lived in Denver, so we went out there and visited some family and had a good time. And then, I think we also took a trip to Phoenix. At some point, I think, a year or two after we were married, we visited some friends down there and just had a good time down in the Phoenix area. So, be willing to try new things. I mean, this is a new person, a new relationship, and I know from my own personal experience, it was helpful to make these new memories. It was helpful for me to go to places that I hadn't been before because there wasn't, especially like if you're newly widowed, one of the things is that there's kind of like the shadow over familiar places where you and the late wife spent a lot of time or went. There's lots of memories, and I think that's normal, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think it helps and makes a relationship stronger if you can go to a place together, or whether it's a restaurant or a trip or a zoo or whatever it is that you guys like to do, a concert, whatever it is, where these kind of memories aren't there. And I think by doing that, it kind of helps you get a new perspective and maybe understand, if this really is a good relationship. So I think it's a healthy thing to do. It's a good thing to do. It's not to say you can't go to the occasional restaurant or do the occasional thing that the late wife that you and the late wife enjoyed, but just kind of be open to doing new things, and understand that. What's in the past is in the past, and this is a great chance to make new memories and try new things. So by the way, if you're looking for, now I know some of you are watching this and saying, well, how do I know if he's not ready to move on? How can I tell if he's like resistant? Is that a red flag? And I would say, yeah, if he's not open to trying new things, or if he continually talks about it, or going out and he's continually talking about what he and the late wife did, in my mind, that is a red flag that maybe he's not ready to move on. I think a widower who is ready to try it should be willing to try new things. And again, I think it's something that you do together. You plan a new trip together. You do something together. Like for example, if he wants to go on a trip to Hawaii because he and the late wife went there, well, maybe you can go to Hawaii, but you go to a different island, or maybe there's another tropical destination that you can go to. I'm just throw it out there. Be creative. Try to think of new things. Give them suggestions. Widowers like that. And I know that my relationship with Julie has been a lot stronger at least especially early on, once we were trying new things and doing new things. So it's something I encourage both parties to do, and both parties to be open to. Work it out, communicate. That's what good couples do. That's how, especially if you can learn to communicate over issues like this, when other issues arise, you'll kind of have a communication pattern in place. So don't be afraid. Make new memories. Have some fun. I'm Abel Keogh. This has been Widower Wednesday. I'm author of the book Dating a Widower. If you have a comment, go ahead and leave a story or a comment below. And feel free to go ahead and subscribe, as well as watch another video. And this is Abel. I'll see you next Wednesday.